Have you ever really wanted to speak English, not just correctly, but, naturally? Did it sound like you actually grew up with it, like effortlessly handling conversations instead of carefully building each sentence piece by piece? It's definitely more than just knowing words or grammar rules, isn't it? It's about that authentic kind of flow, that feeling of being totally at ease. So our mission in this deep dive is to unpack exactly what speaking naturally really means. We've gathered insights from quite a few sources to give you some tips and exercises you can use right away. Think of it like a shortcut, maybe, to feeling more confident and sounding genuinely you in English without getting sort of bogged down in all the textbook stuff.
Yeah, and that definition itself, what is natural speaking, that's really key here. What we found looking through the research is this consistent theme. It's about communicating in a way that feels relaxed, confident, and just easy for others to understand. It's really less about hitting every grammatical mark perfectly and much more about, well, connection.
Okay, let's unpack that then, because it really is more than just words. You're right, it goes into the rhythm, the tone, the whole style of how you talk.
Yeah.
For instance, something the sources really highlighted was contractions, and not just like I'm instead of I am or don't for do not. It's even things like I'm gonna instead of I am going to, which it seems isn't just about sounding casual. It actually helps streamline things, makes it sound less like you're, assembling the sentence on the fly, more like it's just flowing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And what's fascinating there is it also folds in the actual flow of the conversation. Linguists might call it prosody, that melody and rhythm in your voice. See, native speakers, they don't just talk at people, they react. They kind of co-create the conversation space. They use those little sounds. Uh-huh, yeah, oh, really? Things like that show they're tuned in, engaged.
That's a great point. I think a lot of learners might actually try to avoid those little sounds, thinking they sound, I don't know, too informal or maybe just like filler. But is there a point where not using them actually makes you sound less natural, less present in the chat?
Oh, absolutely. Think of them as like verbal nods or punctuation, maybe even a kind of subtle dance between speakers. These sounds, they signal, I'm with you, or I agree, or wow, tell me more. If you leave them out entirely, your side of the conversation can feel a bit flat, disengaged almost, like you're giving a speech instead of having a dialogue. They're part of the connective tissue.
Right, the connective tissue. I like that. And crucially, this whole idea of speaking naturally, it absolutely doesn't mean being perfect. I found that really eye-opening, actually, how much the material stressed embracing imperfections. It kind of redefines fluent, doesn't it? Our sources were pretty clear. Native speakers, they make mistakes constantly. They repeat words. They change sentences halfway through. They use fillers like and all the time. So it's not about being rigid. It's about sounding human, comfortable enough to be a little messy sometimes. But is there a risk there for someone starting out at AIM? Is there a danger in embracing imperfection too soon, before they've got a solid base?
That's a really good question. I think the key is finding a balance. The research isn't saying, forget grammar. Not at all. It's more about shifting your main focus, moving from flawless sentences to effective communication.
Yeah.
Getting your point across. The danger, maybe, is using imperfection as an excuse to stop learning. But honestly, for most people learning, just realizing that native speakers also stumble and use fillers is like a huge weight off their shoulders. It tackles that fear of making mistakes head on and actually frees them up to just, talk more, experiment.
That sets things up perfectly for, well, where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
How do you actually do this? And our deep dive really delivers here. The sources laid out this fantastic toolkit, really, of practical exercises you can start using today. To build that natural flow and that confidence, let's maybe dig into a few of the key ones.
Definitely. The first one, and maybe the most powerful, is something called shadowing. And this isn't just passive listening, it's really active mimicking. You take a short audio clip, maybe just a few seconds from, say, a podcast or a movie scene, and you try to perfectly copy the speaker. Not just the words, but the exact tone, the rhythm, the pronunciation, even how fast or slow they're talking. It's kind of like building muscle memory, but for your mouth and your brain's connection to it.
So it's really not just repeating words back. It's trying to literally, embody how that person sounds. What specific benefits did the studies mention for doing this shadowing thing?
Exactly. It's much less about understanding the meaning in that moment and way more about the form. the sound. And the benefits are pretty incredible, actually. It really helps you internalize those natural intonation patterns, the ups and downs in speech. It improves your articulation, how clearly you form sounds, and it even helps you pick up on connected speech, how words kind of flow and blend together when people talk naturally. It trains your ear and your mouth together.
Okay, that makes a ton of sense. Another big technique that came up was practicing dialogues. How should someone actually go about that? Is it just like reading a script out loud? Or is it more dynamic?
Definitely more dynamic. I mean, you can use pre-written dialogues, find them online or in books, or even better, maybe create your own based on situations you actually expect to be in, like ordering coffee or asking for directions. The key, though, is practicing them out loud. Maybe take both roles if you're alone, focus on that natural back and forth rhythm, try to put some real emotion or personality into it. The sources really emphasize this builds conversational fluency, not just your ability to make one good sentence.
And then, okay, after all that practice comes the step I think many people dread, recording yourself.
Mm.
What should you even be listening for when you bravely hit play on your own recording?
Ah, yes, the moment of truth. Recording yourself, it sounds scary, but it's such a fantastic tool for diagnosis. The trick is not to aim for perfection right away. Don't judge yourself too harshly. Instead, listen for places where maybe the flow feels a bit clunky or where you hesitate a lot. Is your intonation kind of flat, maybe? Are you actually using those contractions we talked about? Or natural pauses. It's really about self-assessment, spotting your habits, the good and the bad, so you know what to work on next.
That sounds incredibly useful, actually. Less scary when you frame it like that. And on a lighter note, maybe, but still effective, our deep dive also mentioned tongue twisters. Are these just, a bit of fun, or do they actually help you sound more natural? I always trip up on "She sells seashells by the seashore."
Haha, yeah, that's a classic. They're definitely both fun and effective. Seriously. While they seem simple, they're amazing for articulation practice. Tongue twisters specifically target sounds and sound combinations that are often tricky in English. Think of them like a workout for the muscles in your mouth, your tongue, your lips. They help you produce those sounds more clearly and quickly, which, in turn, directly helps you sound more fluent and natural, especially with those difficult sounds like she.
Okay, a workout for your mouth. I like it. So we've talked about these specific practice sessions, shadowing, dialogues, tongue twisters. But what about just kind of keeping English active in your head throughout the day? The sources also brought up simply talking to yourself in English. How does that help?
Right, this one might be the easiest, lowest pressure way to practice, really. You just narrate your day, your thoughts, what you're doing, your plans, all in English, inside your head, or even quietly out loud if you're alone. It builds fluency because it forces your brain to think in English more directly. It reduces that step of constantly translating from your native language first. Plus, it's a totally judgment-free zone, right? You can experiment with new words, try out sentence structures, without any fear of making mistakes in front of anyone. It's like thinking out loud, but in English.
We have covered, wow, a lot of ground today. From understanding the nuances of what natural speech even is to these really actionable steps you can take. To kind of bring it all together, I think the core message here is that natural English is really about relaxed, confident, and authentic communication. It's definitely a journey, not some overnight fix, and every little bit of practice counts.
Exactly. And we've touched on some key strategies today, like how vital it is to really listen, actively listen to native speakers, how integrating things like contractions and connected speech makes a difference, learning those fun idioms, like saying, I'm over the moon instead of just, I'm very happy. And paying real attention to your intonation, that musicality of speech. These might seem like small things, but they genuinely make a huge difference in how natural and fluent you come across.
And we also acknowledged those common hurdles, didn't we? That fear of making mistakes, which holds so many people back. Those tricky pronunciation bits, especially sounds like the thee and think or this, that are tough for many learners. Plus, that tendency we all have sometimes to translate everything from your native language in your head first. It was actually a relief to see the material we looked at being so clear.
Yeah.
These are totally normal challenges. Everyone faces them. And you absolutely can overcome them with, consistent effort and the right mindset.
And we offered that whole toolkit of practical exercises to help. Remember shadowing, mimicking that audio clip tone, rhythm, everything. There was practicing dialogues out loud for conversational flow, recording yourself, scary but useful for self-assessment. Those fun tongue twisters like she sells seashells, great for tricky sounds, and even just talking to yourself in English during your day to keep your brain thinking in English.
So what does all this boil down to for you listening right now as you continue on this path? I think it means staying motivated is just paramount. The research pointed to this again and again. Remember, making mistakes is not a bad thing. Seriously. It's actually proof you're learning, pushing yourself, building that confidence. And just as important, please do not compare yourself to others. Everyone's learning journey is different. Everyone's pace is different. Your progress is your progress. Celebrate that.
Yeah, and to help keep that motivation high, our sources really encourage you to surround yourself with positivity. Find maybe a study buddy, a supportive teacher, or an online community that cheers you on. And maybe, most importantly, make learning fun. Seriously, weave English into things you already enjoy: movies, music, video games, whatever works for you. The more you actually enjoy the process, the more practice you'll naturally get in without it feeling like a chore.
And for that extra push when things feel tough, just remember your why. Why did you start learning English in the first place? Whether for travel, a better job opportunity, connecting with new people, keeping that ultimate goal in sight can really help you power through the challenges and keep that fire lit.
So you've heard today how speaking naturally in English isn't about perfection at all. It really embraces imperfection and focuses much more on connection. As you keep going on your English journey, here's something to think about. Beyond just language, where else in your life and your communication maybe could you embrace this idea, this naturalness and authenticity? How might focusing on connection over rigid correctness deepen your relationships and understanding with others?